This video takes a look at the details of the quality, area, and occupancy calculations functions associated with use groups in Architactile Inception. We start by launching Inception. We'll select a project. We'll go into use groups. This project doesn't have any use groups defined, so we'll create a new one. And the first thing we'll have to do is give it a name. We'll call this one office space. This project was created with a generic project type, so there's not a predefined list of use groups. For other project types, a pull-down icon would appear next to the name field and allow you to select from a predefined list. This feature is discussed in more detail in the video titled Understanding Project Types. The next field we see is the phase field. This field indicates in which phase the work defined on the current page is to be done for multi-phase projects. This field is discussed in more detail in the video on multi-phase projects. The next field is the new renovation field, which indicates the type of proposed construction for the current use group. This field is defaulted based on the proposed construction type selected during project creation, but may be changed on a per use group basis. Changing this field will change the column configuration of the information grid in the middle of the page. There's a layout for renovation. There's a layout for addition. There's a layout for renovation with new construction. And there's a layout for new construction. The optional floor field allows you to specify which floor a use group should be on. This value is selected by a pull-down button that appears only if you have selected the proposed number of floors above or below grade in the General Building Information page off the project menu. For this project, we have not yet specified the number of floors, so the pull-down button is not visible. The heart of the use group area and budget page is the grid in the middle. This grid is designed to show off the familiar relationship between occupancy, area, quality in terms of cost per square foot, and conceptual budget. The grid will have a slightly different look depending on which of the proposed construction types are selected, as we just took a look at, but they're all basically the same. The simplest of these views is the one that we currently have selected, new construction. Now there's a suspiciously empty band across the middle of the grid. This area is used to calculate the unassigned area and a total gross area based on building efficiency and net area specified. This is a really cool feature that can be enabled or disabled. I currently have it disabled in order to keep the grid as simple as possible, but it's discussed in detail on the video on unassigned area. In this view, we have two columns, an existing program column and a new construction column. The existing program column is optional, and it's provided for situations where your client is moving from an existing facility to one that you're proposing. In this case, providing values in the existing program column will result in statements about relative size being added to the narrative scope text. For example, if your client has an existing facility in which they have 1,000 square feet of office space, and they're moving out of that facility and they want to move into the facility that you're proposing, and in that you're proposing 1,500 square feet of office space. Inception will calculate 150% value and put it in the percent of existing program column, and then we'll include that in the narrative scope text at the bottom. So office space, new construction of approximately 1,500 square feet, 150% of the area in the existing program. Now if we remove the value out of the existing program column, we'll see that the percentage of existing program value disappears, and the narrative text at the bottom is also updated to reflect that change. You can see that entering values into this grid is intuitive and reminiscent of popular spreadsheet applications such as Microsoft Excel. But there's some important differences. First, not all the elements of the grid are editable, although most are. The editable values are indicated with a shaded background behind the field. On this page we can see 7 editable fields. Occupancy and net area in the existing program column, occupancy, density, net area, quality in terms of cost per square foot, and estimated budget in the new construction column. The second big difference is that unlike Architactile Inception, formulas in spreadsheets typically only calculate in one direction. For example, you can configure a formula in a spreadsheet to calculate the estimated budget by multiplying the area and the cost per square foot, and that's true of Inception too. The difference is that Inception can also perform that calculation backwards without the need to change a formula like you'd have to in Excel. For example, we've already specified a net area of 1,500 square feet. Let's use a quality value of $150 per square foot, and Inception will calculate an estimated budget for us of $225,000 for this use group. But what if we wanted to calculate the cost per square foot based on budget and area? In a spreadsheet, you'd have to define a new formula or pull out a calculator. In Inception, you simply change the value you want to use as an input, and the other numbers are automatically recalculated. So let's say in our project we've got a hard requirement of 1,500 square feet, which is already entered in, and we want to change the budget number. We don't quite have $225,000. We have $200,000 to spend on this use group. So we want to see how much we can spend per square foot. So I'll hit enter. Now Inception will calculate the new cost per square foot rounded to the nearest half dollar, and then it recalculates the estimated budget number to eliminate rounding error from the calculations. The result is a conceptual budget number that is as close to the number you entered as it can be while still keeping the math consistent. In this case, the result is slightly higher than the value specified. So we've ended up with an estimated cost per square foot, or a budgetary cost per square foot of $133.50 per square foot. When we multiply that times our area of 1,500 square feet, we get an estimated budget of $200,250. Now this is a really powerful tool, but there is some nuance that you have to pay close attention to. In our example, we changed the budget number and recalculated the per square foot cost. However, in some scenarios, you may not want to adjust the cost per square foot and instead elect to reduce the size of the use group. And Inception can do this too. So I'm going to reselect the estimated budget field so that it goes into edit mode. Now, if you look closely, when you select a field for editing, you'll notice that one or more small calculator icons will appear to the right of other fields in the column. Here we see the calculator icon is next to the cost per square foot field. This means that changing the value in the field that's currently being edited, in this case the budget field, will result in the recalculation of the field with the calculator next to it, in this case the estimated cost per square foot. If I want to leave that value constant, I tap the icon and the calculator icon will jump to the other half of the equation. In this case, tapping the cost per square foot calculator causes it to jump up to net area. We'll also see that a calculator has appeared up next to the occupancy field as well. Now, since we don't have a density specified, that doesn't have any effect, but we'll come back to that part of the equation in a minute. So now we're going to change our budget number to $190,000. Now the calculator is next to the net area, so that's what will be recalculated based on the current quality. So I'm going to hit enter, and Inception took $190,000 divided by $133.50 per square foot, and that gave us 1,423 square feet. Inception then took the area and remultiplied it times the cost per square foot to eliminate the rounding error, and gave us a new estimated budget of $189,971, which is just slightly less than our specified value of $190,000. Now we've been dealing with the basic equation of area times quality in terms of cost per square foot yields estimated budget, and that's represented on the bottom half of the grid. The top half of the grid represents a different equation, namely occupancy times density yields net area. The calculations on these fields work the same as the ones below, including the calculator icon feature. So to keep the numbers round, I'm going to come in here and change our net area to 1,400 square feet. I've moved the calculator down to budget, so I'm going to update our budget with a quality level of $133.50 per square. So I hit enter, it recalculates our budget number. Next, I'm going to select the density field, and notice that the calculator icon appears next to the occupancy field, indicating that that's going to be the one that's calculated once I supply a value for density. I'm going to enter a value of 100 square foot per person and hit enter, and Inception calculates an occupancy of 14 people. So now let's say we want to increase the occupancy to 16. So we select the occupancy field. Notice that the calculator icons appear next to both the area and estimated budget fields. Since the area is part of both the top and bottom equation, any change that readjusts area will cascade to the other half of the grid. So if I want to leave my total area alone and recalculate density instead, I just tap the icon next to area and the calculator jumps to density. So now if I change the occupancy field, it's going to leave the area constant and recalculate the density. I'm going to touch the calculator icon again to move it back to calculating net area. So now if I change occupancy, it will recalculate net area, but it will also cascade to the bottom of the grid. Here I also have two choices. Increasing the net area can either result in a higher budget or a lower quality. So currently the icon is next to the estimated budget field, meaning the current quality value will be used to recalculate a new budget once the net area changes. If I would instead like to recalculate quality using the current budget number, I simply touch the icon next to budget and it jumps to the quality field. Now we're going to opt for a decrease in quality. So I'm going to leave the icon there, and I'm going to change my occupancy to 16. It's going to recalculate, because the icon's next to net area, it's going to recalculate my net area based on an occupancy of 16 people and a density of 100 square foot per person, which will increase my area to 1,600 square feet. It's going to leave my budget relatively constant and come up with a new quality level. It's going to decrease my quality level because I'm going to be adding a couple of hundred square feet into my net area. So let's hit enter. So as we expected, the area increased to 1,600 square feet, and it's reduced our quality value from $133.50 a square to $117 per square. Again, to remove rounding error, Inception recalculates our new budget to $187,200. So let's go through the process of adding a new use group again. We'll add a new use group. We'll give it a name. We'll call this one Conference Room. Conference Room. We'll need to accommodate 50 occupants. It's a big conference room. And we'll use a density of 25 square foot per occupant. That gives us a net area requirement of 1,250 square feet. We're going to use a quality value of $165 per square foot. And that's it. We've created our use group, and we've got our conceptual budget for that space of $206,250. Now, how many people can we accommodate if we reduce our budget to $175,000 and maintain the same quality and density? Well, I select budget. I'm going to reduce that. I want to keep my same quality level, and I want to keep my same density level, so I'm going to recalculate area and occupancy. My budget is $175,000. I hit enter, and that tells us that we can afford 1,050 square feet, and our occupancy is the ultimate answer to the life, universe, and everything, 42. So this concludes our look at the use group calculations in Architactile Inception. I hope you've enjoyed it. Thanks for watching, and we hope to see you in another video. Thanks.